To be a dramatic reading by my friend who has the god voice, the Baron of Zimbabwe. That's what you say hello.
Hello! I'm the Baron. Hello.
So basically, I am writing a fan fiction and he's going to be reading it. It is a backstory to my OC, Viperius, not Viperus. And yeah, he hasn't actually read through it properly, so he may stumble over his words a lot.
Yes, a lot.
But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, every time he reaches a new paragraph, we're going to be stopping the recording and redoing it, so it's going to be like a checkpoint. So if he fails at it terribly, like we just did in the last attempt at recording this, then we actually, you know, have a solid thing. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and Baron, shoot.
Alrighty. Who am I? A long-lost unicorn. Intro. A long time ago, a student of Starstill the Bearded by the name of Viperius was frozen during the migration to the land of Equestria. A freak snowstorm hit this town while he was leaving. He decided to go back to check if anyone was still there, but when he became consumed by the devastating snow. However, before he was fully consumed by the ice, he resorted to using a prototype spell that would keep you alive as long as your horn wasn't damaged. Many hundreds of years later, he defrosted and walked once again. Struggling and clinging on to life, he came across a royal guard patrol on the edge of the continent, protecting Equestria from any possible threats. Collapsing in front of the guards, they take him to Canterlot to be treated and questioned.
Okay, now let's go on to chapter 1. That was the introduction. By the way, guys, I actually hadn't done the introduction properly. I had written it, and then I had done chapter 1, and then I had done constant improvements to chapter 1. So, sorry about the introduction being a bit shitty. You know, you get the gist about the story, so chapter 1 will explain, will divulge more into the story, so.
The reawakening. The navy blue unicorn's body remained motionless, but for an instant his eyes twitched. So the guards wearing gold armor turned to view him. Slowly he regained consciousness, noticing that he was in a golden carriage soaring through the air at cloud level. The big, beautiful blue sky appeared in his eyes. Not seeing this for over 1,000 years, Viperius gasped. The astonishing beauty of the sky overwhelmed him. He was confused, shattered, and most of all, scared. The last thing that this unicorn saw was the pure whiteness of a blizzard completely engulfing his body and freezing him inside. Not only a prison of ice, but a prison of time.
Alright, Morgan Freeman. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph.
When Viperius fully awakened, he looked at his surroundings. He had no idea of where he was or where they were taking him. With the amount of time that had been lost, he decided to simply just look around, see what had changed. This area was not known to him. Every time he tried to remember before the incident occurred, he developed a migraine. This concerned him even more, but he was still focused on the beautiful scenery. The mountains covered in white snowy blankets, the birds flying through the air, some pegasi clearing through the clouds. Then they waved at the guards. But the guards didn't pay attention, and that's when it hit him. If they were too focused on transporting him to the waved back at residence of the Cloud City, then he must be in big trouble. He began to grow fear once again. However, his wounds hadn't fully healed, resulting in him fading once again. Shortly before Canterlot comes within sight, the unicorn Viperius wakes up once again. He then looks around, confused at the situation. "Hey, you two, what's going on right now?" he asked the carriage pullers. They looked at him with disgusted faces. "You're being taken to the Canterlot Hospital to be interrogated," they said. He looked at them with surprise. Canterlot? What is that?" he shuddered. The guards turned to look at him. They were astonished by his lack of knowledge of Equestria. "It's the capital of Equestria, obviously," they explained. "Equestria? Isn't that the land that we were colonizing just before? He stopped. What happened? He yelled, suddenly realizing that he couldn't recall anything. The guards, once again, turned and looked at each other. We don't know. That is why you're being transported to Canterlot. You are badly injured and suffering from pneumonia, they explained. The carriage then came within visual range of the Canterlot Castle. That was some fine architecture you have there. On the side of the mounting isn't easy, said the unicorn. The guards pulling the carriage kept their eyes forward and ignored him. You'll be questioned when we will arrive. Now quiet down, they demanded. Annoyed by the lack of respect from the guards, he resorted to huffing, sulking the pony, then decided to annoy them. His obvious social issues prohibited him from doing otherwise. Are we there yet? He inquired. He kept going on, and on, and on, and on. The guards started to look at him
Begrudgingly.
begrudgingly, there we go. Having fun, are we? Said the guard on the left. Shut up or we will have to restrain you, said the guard on the right. The unicorn snorted once again. He then looked at the amazing blue sky. The only sky he knew was a gloomy, dark, cloud-covered wasteland. The carriage then began to slow down as they came close to Canterlot. Whoa, said the unicorn, Viperius. This is amazing, he murmured. The guards kept focus as they entered the city. How long has this place been standing? He inquired. The guards looked at each other with more shock at how blatantly uneducated he was. Who knows? A lot longer than we've been alive. Then they said simply to humor him. He then glared at them. What's going to happen to me? He asked, disappointed with their poor sense of humor. They looked at each other and rolled their eyes. We've already told you, they said with a more pissed-off tone. Then they began to enter the city boundaries. The solid gold and white brick architecture amazed the blue unicorn. Wow, he said under his breath. The carriage came to a sudden halt at the hospital roof. A group of doctors arrived at the scene and collected the wounded unicorn. The guards then flew back to the castle to give their reports. Viperius blacked out while getting off the carriage, showing how weak his body was, reflecting the state from which he awoke. A few hours later, Viperius woke up again. He was restrained on a light blue sheeted bed in a color-coded room. Red for medical, blue for hygiene, and white for entertainment. He then looked around. What's going on? He yelled frantically. Two doctors then trotted in. This is some pony who wanted to meet you, they said. All of a sudden, Viperius' eyes widened, for it was Princess Celestria. Who are you? A horn and wings, he said with surprise. Hello, my old friend. I thought I would never see again. Celestria greeted the unicorn. What are you talking about? And who are you? Viperius inquired. Celestria, realizing that something was wrong, looked at the doctors. What is your diagnosis? She asked. The doctors examined their charts. Appears to be pneumonia. How long have you known him, may we ask? Celestria glanced at them. Since before Equestria, she said, while looking back at Viperius. They then looked at the unicorn. Well, this complicates things, they said, while examining the chart. They were concerned. At this time, no current form of magical life could sustain life for the amount of time that was presented to them by this dilemma. Celestria then took the doctors away and began talking with them. I think I know what her voice was cut out by the closing of the doors. 4 Pegasi in black suits with tinted glasses appeared in front of him, which was preventing him from hearing the conversation through the door. One of the Pegasi trotted up to the unicorn. Hello. We're from the Federation of Cloudsdale. We'd like to ask you a few questions, they said. Their covered eyes were obviously glaring down at the unicorn. He looked down in shame. I don't know, he whispered. The Pegasus looked at each other. Sir, it is crucial that you tell us everything, they explained. He tried to avoid our eye contact, as it was too obvious, too nervous, talking face to face with other ponies, especially ones that had a horrible attitude towards him. The Pegasi looked at him again. Sir, do you know how long you have been away for? They asked. The unicorn finally made eye contact. He opened his mouth wide. I don't remember anything, he raised his voice, surprising the Pegasus. The unicorn lashed out at them. I don't know anything. I don't remember anything, he screamed, pointing directly at their faces, not caring about any spit or mucus that went in. Do you know what it's like to wake up in a frozen wasteland, weak and having no recollection of who you are, he inquired. The Pegasi readjusted their stances. It appears that you have a case of amnesia, or maybe it's just your pneumonia. Nonetheless, we'd like to speak with you again when you're regaining your memories, the leader Pegasus said. The group of Pegasi then left the room, shoving through the doors, and the doctors and the princess. The princess then entered the room. Hello, young unicorn. It appears you are unaware of your past. Very well, then. You shall be released from this place when you are better. I hope that you regain your memory, but when you do, your life may change for the better. Or for the worst, she explained. Celestria then left the room. Viperius looked up and laid his head back to rest. 1 week later. Viperius was finally released from the hospital. He had a grin on his face, but nothing to his name. It may seem odd, but why wouldn't he? A fresh start in an unknown world. It's not like he has nothing, but he still basically has magic. Maybe even some more advanced spells. Hello, how are you? A light green mare stopped his train of thought. She was somewhat young, that of a teenager. The unicorn looked down at her. Hello, he said. A slight blush appeared on his cheeks. You look like you're lost. You should join our caravan. We're colonizing a land. She tilted her head and smiled at Viperius. Well, I guess I have no choice then, he said, smiling back at the mare, blushing more than ever. Great. Come with me, she prompted. The young mare told him the location of the caravan train. Viperius then met with the young mare at the arranged location. She gestured for him to get on the end of the caravan. And there was a green earth pony, about his age. Howdy there, he said. He looked back at her. Hi, said the unicorn under his breath. Although his outward appearance looked nervous, he was quite excited. A new start, better yet, colonizing a town. Maybe he would become mayor, who knows? Where are your parents? He asked the young man. He looked down. What's wrong? He asked. They died when I was young. Mrs. Smith here took me in and helped me survive. She started to tear up. It'll be okay. I'll look after you if Mrs. Smith doesn't mind, he reassured her. He then went on to look at Mrs. Smith. Is it okay with you? He asked. She looked back and nodded. That's a great idea. I'm getting too old to look after her. I need to help my family. Who knows, I may help them survive when we start planting that gosh darn orchid. Orchard. Same thing. She explained. The carriage was then pulled by 2 strong colts. The carriage rode off into the sunset, leaving a trail of dust as Viperius began his new life. A mist of wonder loomed in the air, however. No one knew how this would turn out. But some had ideas.
And that is the end of chapter 1. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and no spoilers, so goodbye. Do you have anything to say, Zimbabwe?
Goodbye!
Goodbye.